And welcome everybody. Thank you for coming to our webinar on Is Med School Right for Me? We will provide some inside opinions on med school and whether we think it's the right path, because it may not be for everyone. So thanks everyone for coming. I think we can go around and introduce ourselves as panelists. So I can go ahead and get started. My name's Anna. I'm a fourth year. I am originally from Palos Verdes, California, so not too far from LA. And I went to Berkeley for undergrad. I took one gap year to go work for a nonprofit out in rural Alabama, and then I started med school, and I am going into OBGYN. So done with residency interviews, and we'll see where I'm at come March. Reza, do you want to take it away next?
Sure. So hi everyone, I'm Reza. I'm also a fourth year medical student like Anna, but I kind of decided to take a year off between my third and fourth year applying to residency. So right now I'm doing research at the Department of Urology. I'm originally from Iran, came to the US when I was 15, and I went to Georgia, University of Georgia, and then I came straight to medical school, did not take any gap years. And I'm a fourth year now. So.
I guess I'll go next. Hi, everyone. I'm Anais. I am an MS1, so just started 3 blocks into med school. I'm originally from LA, born and raised. I went to University of California, Irvine for undergrad, took 3 gap years after graduating. And yeah, that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
I'll go next. I'm Ani. I'm also an MS1. I went to UC Irvine as well for undergrad. I'm from Glendale, California, so that's like 30 miles out, and I willingly commute every day to school. And did I miss anything? Oh yeah, and I took 3 gap years as well. Probably one of the best times of my life so far.
Hi everyone, I'm Wes. I'm a first year medical student as well. And I'm from San Diego, so pretty close. I went to UCLA for my undergrad, and I took 3 gap years. And I'm in the I'm an MSTP, so a little different on things that I can answer questions for.
Amazing. So I think Reza is going to be our moderator. So he will be asking some questions that have been like pre-written, and also questions that you guys submitted from the RSVP form. If you have any other questions, feel free to throw them in the Q&A section. That way it's easier for us to see like which questions have been answered or not. And we can also answer those questions live. So feel free to chime in, whatever you guys are curious about, and then reserve chat for like, I don't know, technical problems or things like that, because it's easier to see all the questions in the Q&A. So I think that's about it. Reza, you can take it away.
Sure. And also, as Anna mentioned at the beginning, this session is recorded. So if you have any friends or classmates that want to hear about this, because they can always refer to our social medias, and we have those recordings up. And the topic of today's Med Mentors Monday is medical school right for me? And this is one of I get this question a lot. I get to mentor a lot of people back from Georgia and also from undergrad at UCLA. And certainly this is one of the most highly asked questions. So I'm hoping that it ends up being very helpful for you guys. And also, I'm going to quickly share my screen and show you our Med Mentors page. So can everyone see this screen? I just wanted to, okay, so this, for those of you that are joining your first Med Mentors session, we're basically a group of medical students here at UCLA that started this organization about 4 years ago, I believe. I think me and Anna were one of the originals, we're 2 of the originals. And we're basically sharing our advice and provide resources for medical students, for undergraduates, both at UCLA and outside of UCLA that are interested in medical school. And we do a lot of events. So for example, we do Med Mentors Mondays. This is this is one of them. We talk about highly requested topics. We also do coffee chats where we get to meet you guys in person. COVID is almost hopefully gone, so we get to do a lot more of these in person at UCLA campus. We have one, I believe, at the end of this month. I don't know if anyone has the date. I can share it in the chat. And we also do a lot of application editing when you submit your applications for med school. We do a lot of mock interviews. We read your essays, and we do a lot of one-on-one advising as well. So definitely check us out at our social media. We have it here in this bottom left corner, so that you can get connected. Okay, so I'm going to ask the questions now. The first question is, when did you realize you wanted to go to medical school? What experiences led you to this path? Who wants to get started?
I can start. I would say that like the experience for me, it's like started back in high school. I think like one of the ways you get an idea about medicine is if you kind of like science, and I always like science, but so I tried volunteering in my local hospital. It was kind of like a CNA position, so you're really just assisting with kind of day-to-day nursing activities. You know, that means like patient care, checking in on patients, really kind of being there for them. And I just was kind of enamored with like, one, there's like so much to learn. I saw medicine was really cool, but also just seeing what medicine's all about, how everyone's a part of, you know, making someone's really kind of difficult time in their life better, and providing something to them. And I really felt an attachment to that, and like it was something I would like to do. And so that's when I set off to kind of explore more. So that was in high school, and I had a lot of time to look at all the avenues of medicine, and like ways you can be involved. But that was what started it for me.
Yeah, similarly for me as well. In high school, we had, you know, required community service hours, and I decided to do that in the hospital. And to be honest, like Wes, like I really liked science. I was good at science. And when you come from like a Middle Eastern background, a lot of parents, you know, force you, it's like doctor, lawyer, like you kind of grow up thinking about those two options. So, you know, I explored medicine through volunteering. And then when I went to college, like went through with a bio major. And so I did more volunteering, more shadowing. I think with volunteering at the hospital, you get a lot more of like what a nurse does. You get exposure to a lot more of that. But when you shadow a doctor, you kind of see exactly like the day-to-day life of a doctor and what they do and like what it encompasses. So I think it's really important to shadow and to see if this is really the field you want to go into, and kind of get like a firsthand view of that. So I think for me, a lot of the experiences was like through shadowing and just really liking the field in general. It's not just liking healthcare, it's also like you have to understand what it takes to be a doctor, and do you really like that field, and is that the role you want to play in healthcare?
I'll go next. So very similar story to the previous two that you guys just heard. So I'm sorry if it's like an echo again, but it is my story as well. It started in high school. Actually, I think since like middle school, I knew that I was interested in the sciences and math, but I wasn't sure like exactly what to do with that. And then in high school, we had like I went to a magnet school where we had like a senior project that we had to do. And so that's when I started shadowing my pediatrician actually. And my senior project was involved like with shadowing his office. And then I created like a website for his office, whatever. So I was like really involved with him like from an early on like high school age. And I also started volunteering at Ronald Reagan here at UCLA. So I was seeing both like the private office spectrum as well as like the hospital, the clinical experience from early on. And I think that's when I kind of became interested. I was like, okay, I know I want to do healthcare, but I wasn't again sure like what in healthcare. So then throughout college, I kind of delved deeper into like more experiences, like more hands-on volunteering through like the Cope Health Scholars Program, which you guys may or may not know about, but that's more like hands-on patient experience. And I realized like through just as a volunteer, if you can have like that, you know, through that little scope of practice that you do have, if you can have that much of a positive impact on a patient's life, then imagine like as a physician, how much more of an impact you can have like on patients' lives, on families, on your community. So that's when I kind of solidified the decision to pursue medicine in particular versus like the other fields in healthcare. And I just did like a lot of experiences like scribing and the urgent care, shadowing, and the volunteering health scholar experience in the emergency department all throughout like college and my gap years to make sure that this is like really where I want it to be. And I think that's important for you guys to also like make sure you put yourself in those environments and realize like how each you know, healthcare professional kind of goes through their day-to-day lives, like whether it's nursing versus PA versus like physicians, to understand like really the ins and outs of it before kind of committing yourself to this path, I'd say.
I'll hop in next, and I have maybe a little bit of a different entry into medicine than the other panelists here. So I was kind of a late transfer into medicine. I had never thought about it before as a career, even like beginning undergrad. And it was kind of my sophomore, junior year that I started thinking about it, since I kind of decided I wasn't loving the route that grad school would take me down. And I kind of decided first that I didn't want to do grad school. And that was just like personally how I came into it. Not that that'll be for everyone. Some people, grad school could be the right option for you, or PhDs or both. So, but I, you know, really wanted to do something hands-on, like with patients. And I think something a lot of people maybe don't realize about medicine is like, there are very different career paths within medicine. So if you shadow different specialties, you'll see like your day can look drastically different. So like if you're not someone that wants to like touch patients and put your hands on patients every day, like that's okay. And you can still want to do medicine and not want to do that. And you can go into radiology, pathology, even like honestly, a lot of internal medicine specialties like may have lower patient touch depending on, you know, if you're in the hospital or outpatient or whatever, versus like I'm going into OB or like surgical specialties or like anesthesia, very procedural specialties, like you'll be working with your hands every day. And so that's kind of one aspect to consider. But I think like thinking about whether you want to work with people, because most of medicine is very people facing. And then also, you know, taking into account like the use of science and medicine and like the knowledge of medicine in your career, if that's something that, you know, sounds exciting to you. I think that's a good reason to look into medicine. And then yeah, I think that's kind of where I started, and wanting to work with people, wanting to work with my hands. And I think I'm happy where I ended up. So
to follow up on that, what are some recommendations that y'all would say someone in undergrad should think about in terms of deciding whether medicine is right for them? So I know shadowing was brought up. I know not liking grad school was brought up. What else do you think they could do from now on to kind of make that decision, or help them make that decision easier?
I can start with this one. I think, you know, in addition to shadowing, this is why like clinical experience is so important on your application. I think it's because schools can see that you've really been in a clinical environment and understand what that means and like what real patient care looks like, and that, you know, it's not always the most glamorous thing that you'll do, and it's not always like the most straightforward or like beautiful puzzle piecing together like clinical picture. Oh, we made diagnosis like in-house, like that's not always what medicine is really like. So I think it's really important to get yourself into a clinical environment, whether that's through like volunteering or scribing or like being a CNA. Like those are all amazing clinical experiences that show you what the clinical environment is really like.
And to add on to that, a lot of people do like become an EMT, or you can also, what I did was I volunteered in a free clinic. And as like college students, we had a very limited role, but you got to see like different aspects of healthcare, and the team and the clinic I was volunteering was kind of basically family medicine for underserved communities in like near Irvine. So you kind of get to see like the difference between, like you said, like glamorous medicine in communities where they don't have all the means for like adequate healthcare. So it's important to kind of get the sense of like the different spectrum of patients you're going to be serving and working with. And also you get to, once again, shadow the doctors who are serving those patients. So you get to learn a lot, and they do use a lot of like they need to find resources for these patients. We need to be able to provide them with different types of imaging and finding ways where we can get resources for these patients. So it's very like, it's a very holistic type of care for these patients. So it's important to kind of get that experience as well. So that's something that I would encourage you guys to do if you're really interested in medicine.
Something that's different from like all the experiences and stuff, which is great, like shadowing the clinical stuff, but like I know this is also easier said than done, but finding like the right mentors and people that you can like ask questions, or even like, I don't know, like if it's family, friends that are in med school, or physicians, or you know, in different like career paths in healthcare, for you to kind of compare and contrast and really know like from the inside what it takes, like what the field entails, whether they're like a physician or whether it's nursing or PA. Just kind of know their day-to-day habits, how they feel about the profession, the field, and especially if you have a specific like specialty or something that you have in mind that you're interested in, maybe also like speaking to those individuals right from the get-go. I know I'm a first generation student, so that was kind of something that I struggled with, you know, navigating like uncharted waters, a path to medical school, and not having really like role models or mentors like in the family or any siblings, cousins, nothing. So it's like if you can find someone, or if you at least know like a friend, or you know, any networking events you can get yourself into and kind of just get yourself out there and connect and talk to people. That's, I think, one of the good ways to really get a deeper perspective of what the field is, rather than, you know, just gauging from like TV shows or like just simple volunteer experiences that might not expose you to the real deal. Because with volunteering, a lot of times you have limited scope of practice, so it doesn't really give you the insider look. But if you find like those good experiences, like someone mentioned EMT or scribing or whatnot, those are better.
I also want to stress out how important what Anais was brought up is finding good mentors. I do that even today, deciding to go into urology. I'm just trying to figure out if it's very right for me. So I'm trying to find, so I have very good mentors who I get to listen to. And one thing you can do is just hear what are they complaining about, and are those some things you want to deal with, you know, and don't feel, I guess, I remember when I was a pre-med, like trying to apply to medical school, I was very like scared of asking doctors questions. And trust me, they people love to talk about themselves. So if you ask them questions, they would have no problem like answering your questions. And so definitely find a good mentor who can give you the ins and outs, as Anais was talking about. And I guess the next question, so someone asked something in the Q&A that, do you ever regret going to medical school? And I think that's, I kind of answered that, but I want to see if any of you have any answers to that. Now, I know most of you are MS1s, or most of you haven't experienced medical school fully yet. So I'm curious to see what you're saying, and also I'm curious to see what Anna says, if she's still
Um,
around.
I have something. I mean, I've spoken to some older classmates who are just a little different. I don't know if anyone's really looking at MSTP, but it's definitely something I can talk about. Is that's something people do regret sometimes, is going MSTP. It's a long commitment. It's not something you should go in like lightheartedly. You really need to understand that like it's a long time, and that and sometimes you have to really consider like that my peers will probably be like, I could eventually have one of them as my attendings when I'm finishing up residency, which sounds fun, but I think this applies to a lot of medicine. There can be a lot of times where you're waiting for your career to progress. I think this applies throughout. Like when I was taking my gap years, it's really challenging when you have like friends in like engineering or software, et cetera, and things that like you had considered, and you see their careers moving and them kind of sprouting into the establish something, and are then able to have more free time, have a better income, whatever it may be. That can be challenging. Just to see people's kind of lives move on, you go, oh, I'm getting ready to go back to school, and I'll be in training for such a long period of time. And I'll have limitations on when I can really start a family. I mean, people do have families in med school too. It just, maybe if you haven't met someone, it can be harder. There's a lot of things that you really want to consider. So I don't mean so much regret, but as you start to go through it, you really think about these choices you've made and like what you're giving up in med school, but also what you're gaining. And there's obviously a lot that you're gaining. Just the more you can think of that ahead of time, from coming to things like this, or speaking to people who are in it, or people who have been through it in ways they would have done things differently, I think can help you not regret making that choice. And that's more of like a personal life sort of answer to that question.
I kind of want to answer that, not necessarily for the MD PhD students, but as a fourth-year medical student, several of my classmates have expressed that they regretted going to medical school, and that was mainly for the amount of time commitment that was involved to go through medical school for 4 years and do residency for another couple of years. A lot of my classmates were, and a lot of us in general, are these high achievers that at every point we always wanted to basically take that next step up the ladder. And a lot of people kind of don't know when to exit that ladder and always try to like keep going up the ladder at every stage. And when they go and they keep going up, at some point they realize they made a mistake, that they're not happy with where they're at. They just did it because it was kind of the next best thing to do. So I would say that I know several people that have done it and that have regretted it, and it's mostly because of the time commitment and the amount of time it takes to become a doctor, and you're basically postponing your salary making potential, and as Vez was saying, a lot of people postpone like having families and stuff like that until residency, and then residency happens and you're like, you know what, maybe I should postpone family and things a little bit more, and you keep postponing until you're an attending, and with now most of the students coming into medical school with several years of gap years, that's already taking you into your mid-30s, so early to mid-30s. So that's kind of something to definitely think about as you're thinking about medical school.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been listening in. Sorry, my computer's like done with Zoom today. But totally agree with everything Rez has been saying. And I think like, honestly, like straight up, something that people don't talk about enough before you join medical school. And I think you don't realize like how intense residency really is. And until you're in your third year of medical school, actually doing rotations, and you are working 80 hours a week and you don't have any weekends off, like it is a significant impact on your life, and you will miss birthdays, you will miss weddings, you will miss family events. And you just like, you have to accept that. And if you are like upset about that, then you may like become bitter and like resent medical school for making you like dedicate more and more and more of yourself at every step, because it really does, like you'll start first year and they'll ask for, X amount of your time, and then they'll ask for a little more and a little more and a little more. And all of a sudden you have like no more weekends and you're like, what the heck? And I'm looking at residency programs that I literally will not have an entire weekend off, like 2 days in a row for an entire year. Like we call that a golden weekend in medicine. And it's just a regular weekend. So I think just like coming to terms with the realities of that schedule and being realistic with yourself if that's something you want to do, because it is like, it's hard seeing my friends like, doing weekend trips and going places. And of course, medicine isn't always like that. Fourth year isn't like that right now for me, but it is like that. And it will be like that during residency for 4 years. And, for some people that's okay. And for some people it's not. And that's totally fine. And just like being realistic with yourself, if that's what you really, truly want to do. And you're willing to dedicate that part of your life. And it's not that you can't like live life during residency too, like life still goes on. And people do have families and they do, find a way to go to weddings and events and birthdays. But, just being realistic with like the realities of the schedule, because I think it's undersold. And I don't think like a lot of people fully know what it's like coming into medical school. And like, I wouldn't choose another path. I love what I do and I'm really happy that I do it. I think there's a lot of like rewarding aspects of medicine. There's a lot of joy that comes from it. And it becomes a part of your life. But if you don't want your job to be a significant part of your life, then this is not the career for you, because there's no other option. Every residency is extremely demanding. And so, if you don't want that to be a big part of your life, if you want to keep like your hobbies as a big part of your life, then I think reevaluating medicine is not like the worst idea. So there's another 2 cents. Sorry, I'm trying not to be too negative, but fourth year makes you a little jaded.
Yeah, to kind of piggyback off of that, I just wanted to say, like, I know this is going to sound very cliche, but you really have to be passionate about this field if you're going into it, because it's so like, it is rigorous, it is time consuming, it does take away time and like years off of your life. So you have to make sure that this is what you want before you go into it, which is why all those experiences that we were talking about, like shadowing and actually working in the healthcare field and making like sure that you do want to be the physician in the healthcare field before you go into this, because like Anna said, you don't want to go into it and then get bitter and start hating the field. And like Reza said, a lot of us are overachievers, so we don't want to back down, which gets us into this whole cycle of like just continuing for the fact that we want to keep going on and we don't want to give up, which can really take a toll on your mental health. So, and don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but this is why there's such high suicide rates in medicine, is because people don't want to give up. They don't want to step down when they know that they should, or they know that this is not what they want to continue doing, but they still do it. And the healthcare system is kind of messed up. We're not treated the best. We get overworked. So you have to be able to really fully want to commit to this if you're doing this. So make sure you guys are really serious about it and that this is exactly what you want, because it is almost like a lifelong commitment.
Great answers. I guess to follow up on that question, and this is a question that we have both in the Q&A and someone submitted this before our panel today. So they're asking why physician instead of other careers in medicine. So and another student submitted a question. I was interested in doing a PA school, but I see that you're always working under supervision of a doctor. Is this enough of a reason to not do PA and go to medicine? And I want to add to that question, why medicine? And the second thing is for those of you that are doing rotations, for example, like Anna, we have a lot of experience seeing the different interactions between doctors and nurses and PAs. What do you panelists think is the difference in real life as you're seeing patients? And why medicine? Why being a doctor over those other ones for our panelists, for our attendees?
Yeah, I can jump in here. So if you want to go to PA school, you should go to PA school because you'll be done in 2 years and you can make like over 100K right out of school, which is really cool. And you're also involved in healthcare. But if you want to be a decision maker, and not to say you can't make decisions as a PA, but personally, I wanted to be like the leader of a healthcare team. I wanted to make those clinical decisions, and I wanted that extra schooling. I wanted that deep understanding, the pathophysiology. Why are we doing the things we do? And I think that like that desire for knowledge is a huge part of being a physician, and just like being curious, like genuinely, like intrinsically curious, like why is this, why are we doing the things that we do? I want to understand the reasoning, and I think that's a big difference, like of going to medical school and going through all these like in-depth classes, all these different rotations, and they really teach you like the understanding underneath every decision, not just we make this decision when X happens, or we make this decision when Y happens. And so personally, I see that as a big difference. But like nursing and PA and NP school, like those are all incredible careers that you can be completely fulfilling in medicine. I will also say that like sometimes on internal medicine, you'll see your patient for 15 minutes in the morning, and the nurse is the one that's spending all day with the patient. They're going back and forth to that room. They're getting to know that patient way more than you are. So if you really love spending time with patients and being one-on-one with one person and really getting to know them and like guiding them through their illness, like honestly, nursing might be a better option. And it's not that doctors don't do that, but you have way more patients you have to see. You often don't have that time to spend with the patient. And so thinking critically about, you know, which roles you can see yourself in, I think is really important. And there are like other different healthcare careers, OT, PT, speech pathology, that are like fantastic and work a lot with patients, that could be a really great option too. So those are some of my thoughts.
I think one thing to think about when deciding like why this versus that in healthcare is also your like end goal and your values, like for your lifestyle, and kind of thinking ahead past the schooling years and whatnot, what type of lifestyle you're looking for down the line, and also like what your passions and interests are. Like, for example, if you're, 100% you want to do surgery, then you probably need to go, the medicine route, do it as like a physician, and not like as, into nursing. Versus if you want to do something like in primary care, for instance, like family medicine or even anesthesiology, there's, nursing routes to that. Like a lot of nurse practitioners, they can become FNPs, which is like family nurse practitioners, and practice in like local clinics, and even, emergency departments. Nurse practitioners can practice and kind of work like a doctor, and in urgent cares too. So, and I think nowadays there's like new laws like coming out every day, like nurse practitioners can sign their own charts. They don't need, a supervising doctor to sign it, depending on the place and like, I don't know the logistics, but you can look into that. So like, it just really depends on like what you're interested in. If you know for a fact you want to do surgery, if you want to be the one like calling the shots, or, it really just depends, or what type of lifestyle you're interested in. If you want like more of a balance between work and personal life, then maybe like PA school and nursing might be like the better option, as well as like less debt, less school years in a sense, and faster, like reaching the finish line faster, I guess, for lack of a better words. But yeah, I think you really have to sit down with yourself and kind of write it out or draw it out, like what you see yourself doing down the line. Are you more like Anna said, like if you want to spend more time with patients, then you probably, like as a doctor, you're kind of fast paced, going from room to room to room, depending on specialty you choose. And like, you don't have like that long amount of time with patients as like nurses do. There's also like other flexibilities in nursing, that you can go from like just RN to like nurse practitioner to like even DNP, which is doctorate of nursing. So it's like a doctorate degree, but through a nursing route. So it's like different things that you can explore and look at to consider like and before you make your final decisions.
Yeah. Also, oh, sorry, go ahead, Wes.
No, go for it.
Okay, I was just gonna continue kind of off on ice what she was saying. Honestly, as a first gen student, I didn't really have a lot of exposure to different career paths in healthcare. Like I knew doctor, like I was okay, I love science, medicine, I want to be a doctor. And so I just went down that road. But honestly, when I was volunteering in college, I actually volunteered in the OR. And the anesthesiologist was actually a CRNA, which is a nurse anesthesiologist. I was like, I honestly didn't even know that field existed. So there are different paths to get to where you want. And like I said, a lot of it, you have to look at the lifestyle, like what do you want to be doing in the future? Are you up for like that many years of schooling? Can you do, like if you want to be an anesthesiologist, you can go through that route through nursing too. So it's just a matter of fact, like having the pros and cons of the different healthcare careers and choosing what you feel like your personality and your thoughts of what you want your lifestyle to look like in the future, which category it fits in. So do a lot of research, honestly, and shadow as many different fields as you can to kind of see like which lifestyle do you like better, which career do you like better, what about each like nursing or physician or PA do you like the best. So and honestly, shadowing them and talking to them and hearing about their lifestyles gives you a really big insight. So make sure you do your research and don't just like stick down one route that you like know about only, and do a lot of networking.
I want to add to that. We've really focused a lot on like a career in healthcare here. And I think it's also very important to know that like a lot of our classmates come in with a background that wasn't even really healthcare at first, and it's very much encouraged to explore. So if you go in, I had a friend who was an engineer, and he always wanted to do kind of like healthcare related stuff. He really enjoyed that, but what he ended up doing was actually not pursuing his a degree in medicine and continue with computer science, and he really wants to do development for like new technology that can help in healthcare. And so, my point here is that there's a lot of ways to work with people and work and have a life and really just have pursuits. And I think it's really easy when you are in high school and, people throw a few options at you. You can be an engineer, doctor, lawyer, like a few, I don't know, few things, and those stick out and we see them on television, but there are so many careers in the world, and there's so many ways of going about also like having the career you want, not necessarily like the title, but like doing what you want for the world, and being happy with your day-to-day. And so understand you should always explore that too. No med school is going to look at you if you pursue a career in engineering or business or anything else and come back and do well on your med school, your pre-med courses, etc. That just shows them that you have understood yourself and that there are other things you are interested in and you've grown from, and that medicine is like the real pursuit for you and your real passion. And like as an MSTP, I also I first came into medicine looking to be a physician, and I very much explored being just a PhD grad student and going into just academia and doing research or even working in industry. And I've come to find that for me and the connection between the two and being a physician is very important. So that's why I'm doing this. But I have plenty of peers who really like the idea of grad school, and you can help just as many people or more. If you're a great researcher, you might find the cure for cancer. There's all sorts of things. So just don't feel like the pedestal we often like put like being a physician and really a lot of careers on are what is going to define you and your career. You can be incredible at really anything so long as it's like a pursuit that you enjoy and you feel like you're good at. Don't stunt yourself in trying to fit into a box that's not right for you. It doesn't, not being a physician doesn't mean you're not amazing and gonna do more for patients than maybe many of us could.
So, and
Wait,
what-
Reza,
oh, go for it.
sorry, can I just add something really quick? Just to like quick clarifying point on a couple things that were said. I like absolutely nursing is a route to get into anesthesia or to become like a family nurse practitioner. You can, in many states now, prescribe medicine, sign your own charts, but it is not the same job as being a physician. You don't have the same training, you don't have the same scope, and you don't have the same depth of understanding. So, you know, if those are things that you want, then medicine is a good option. But knowing that though there are differences between those careers, there are not, you know, they're not interchangeable. You can do similar things, but not, you know, have the same job with a different background. Quick point.
Great. So we did a lot of career exploration here. I want to quickly change gears and talk about balancing medical school and personal life. How do we do that in medical school?
I'll answer this because maybe mine will be a bit more cynical in some ways, but well, one, you can like, I definitely have balance. I feel like I have a nice balance, but I want to say that when you look at a career in medicine and being a physician, I think Anna already said this, it's going to be your life. I mean, you build a life around it. You don't build it around your life. It's going to be taxing. Clinicals are harsh. I mean, I'm not there, but everyone I ever speak to has said it is. I'm doing an MSTP, so I'll be spending an extra 4 years pursuing, you know, doing a PhD and trying to balance that work into my later career. If you don't, and that's why, you know, coming to panels like this and exploring during undergrad or high school or even in gap years, and I highly recommend gap years, is so important, because you need to know, not just for schools, not just to convince someone that you're ready for it, but you need to know for yourself if it's right for you. Because the work-life balance will be, work should feel like your life, and you should want it to be a huge part of your life for a long time. You shouldn't be going into medicine because you feel like you can have a work-life balance that is the same as what you see with other people. You're not going to have a 9 to 5 unless you, I mean, you might in 10, 15 years, but you got to work real hard to get that 9 to 5. And I mean, the burnout from getting there, you might not like the 9 to 5. So just keep in mind that a part of exploring why medicine is about discovering that medicine is something that gives me satisfaction and I'm passionate about it. And just doing it in a day of doing it, even if it's a long day, it's a hard day, is something that you're happy with just having done that. Not to say you can't have a life and you can't find balance, but I recommend to not, I would say like balance in your work life should come from the fact that your work is a passion to you and you enjoy it and you gain something from it, and that work doesn't feel like a chore to you in medicine, because you're going to be doing a lot of it for a very long time.
Okay, I guess I'm answering one of the attendees' questions. What is a typical day as a first year medical student? I'm answering that in the chat, but let's do one last question, and I want everyone to kind of contribute to this, and I want this to be kind of a positive ending to our maybe somewhat negative panel today, and that would be, what has been your favorite part in medical school so far? What is something you really enjoy in medical school?
Okay, I hope I haven't been too negative. I like straight up, I love medicine. I love what I do. I just like, I feel like I didn't have a great understanding of what really goes on. So I want to give that to you guys. I was joking with Julia, who's like the president of Med Mentors before this, that I was going to go to this panel and be too spicy, but she's like, you need a spicy opinion on this panel. So here I am being spicy, but I really do love medicine. I wouldn't want to do anything else with my life. I love the patients. I love the connections that you form with patients. I love the clinical decision making that you get to do. I love the fact that I'm going to be able to be a surgeon, and that people trust me to work with my hands and deliver babies, which is like literally the coolest job anyone could ever ask for on planet Earth. So I genuinely do love medicine. I think it's absolutely the right path for me. I think it's worth evaluating if it's the right path for everyone, but I think, you know, some of my favorite moments in medicine are that, that bond that you form with patients, and you'll be, like, who would possibly trust a third-year med student with their medical care? But you'll go into the hospital and you will talk to your patients and you will like form bonds with them. And it is like the most rewarding thing when they say thank you in particular. You really like supported me during my hospital stay. You really supported me through this, like whatever illness they have. So medicine is incredibly rewarding at the end of the day. I think that's something that all of us love about this field, is that there are so many like high moments that are really invigorating, and they keep you chasing after that goal. So I do love medicine. I'm happy I'm here. I'm sorry it was spicy, but yeah.
I'll say, like coming to deciding I want to go to medical school, I loved all those experiences. So that was obviously why I'm here. And I've loved medical school so far. And it can be a real slog, and it's like the best thing ever. I love my classmates. I love like everything about this. It's a phenomenal experience already. And we're starting our third block, which means we're not too far in. I think it's a part of all this is that you're going to work really hard at this or whatever else you choose for your career. And once you finally get to that point where you're taking your next steps, it's very satisfying when you know you made the right choice. So again, just take the time to explore, take, gap years, take everything you can do to prepare yourself. Because it is just a great experience. I know it's like a right experience for me though, and it took a long time to do that. I think I 9 years. I've been like exploring going to medicine for 9 years now. So you don't need to jump right into it. And someone asked, we have classmates that are in their 40s or close to 40, like much older classmates. You have time to live your life and explore and have a family and have lived and understand that this is right for you later. You don't have to do it at 22. It's kind of me at 22 is not the me right now. And I knew medicine was right for me, and I understand so much more how and why medicine is good for me. And I gain so much more every day from class and being with my peers and appreciating everything about it. So yeah, just take your time and explore this.
Yeah, for me, medical school, I honestly thought it was going to be more time consuming than it is now. I'm only a first year though. So, you kind of get some time to yourself too as well, like during first year. But what I think I like most is basically applying the knowledge we kind of learn in class. Like you read about certain things and then you read about like the pathology and how this applies to the real world, and we do case-based learning, and I feel like that's the most interesting part to me. And although I'm not in clinicals yet, that's what I'm really excited for, like actually applying this knowledge that we're learning first year to the real world and working with patients and applying that and saying, oh, that's what we were learning about and this is how you go about it and these are the symptoms. So yeah, excited for that.
And I will finish it off. I just want to say that hopefully I wasn't too negative either. I don't know. I'm incredibly thankful and grateful to be, at this school, the school of my dreams in the city and county that I was born and raised in. So I'm incredibly grateful to be here. And I'm incredibly grateful to be, pursuing a career where literally people put their life into your hands and just look up at you and, trust you to kind of just pull them out from the most vulnerable places. Because when people are sick and they're not feeling well, that's when they're most vulnerable, and they're looking up at you as, their hope to another chance at life, a second chance, or the only chance, or whatever it may be. So it's an incredibly rewarding career. And even though it takes a lot, it's time consuming, it's stressful. I think that you are the author of your life, and each person is their own author. Each person has their own timeline and their own journey. So life is what you make it. If you want to create the time to do something for yourself to go on that vacation, or to, I don't know, pursue a relationship or something personal, then you should do it. You can do it. And even though it might be difficult to find that balance at first, I think you will be able to find the nuances of how to do that over time. I think that's my biggest lesson that I've learned so far, like between undergrad and med school, is just literally consciously trying to find the balance every day, because that's in the end what keeps you sane somewhat through all the challenges. So just consciously reminding yourself that you're the author of your own life and you can set it up however you want, regardless of what, you know, the stigma may be, regardless of what the status quo may be, or what you've heard about, you know, med school or med students or the career or whatnot. Just remember that you can create the life that you want, as long as you're willing to kind of bend yourself a little bit around the challenges and obstacles.
Excellent. So thank you so much to our panelists for their thoughtful answers. I'm putting the social media Med Mentors UCLA on Instagram and the rest. Please feel free to reach out to us on Instagram and on the various social medias that we have. And again, like, I would encourage all of you to recommend to your peers as well to watch our videos and learn from them. And we're always happy to answer questions, and we're eager to help you as much as we can. This was a very great panel today. I really enjoyed it, and I hope that all of you got something out of it, and it makes you kind of go back and start thinking about some important questions that you have to ask yourself. And also hopefully optimistic about a very, very great job that you're going to have one day. So with that being said, I'm going to stop the recording, and thank you all for participating. So have a great rest of your day.